Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. What a great way to start the new week as we see more shenanigans by the BBC abusing your license fee money while extorting license fee money from over 75s that have had it free before to go where? Oh, to go into the Director General's pocket as a pay rise. So let's get into this, shall we? Impossible to justify, and this is coming from The Sun, which says something in itself. BBC chief Tim Davie given £75,000 pay rise just after over 75-year-olds lose their free TV licenses. Now, because I have a big American audience as well, just to make you aware, £75,000 is approximately $103,000. So it's a hefty pay rise to get a year. First and foremost, it's a inflation busting 16.6%, where inflation in the UK is currently about 2.4%, I believe. And this, as regards to 75-year-olds, has just come into effect last year. The rules have changed. What are you entitled to? On August the 1st, 2020, the BBC announced TV licenses would no longer be free for those over 75 years old. However, if you claim pension credit, you'll still be entitled to get a free one. So if you're not living on the absolute poverty line as an OAP, as an old age pensioner, whatever you want to call them, senior citizen, then stump up some money. You know, never mind getting a little bit of respite in your golden years. No, pony up some money again so this fat cat can stick it into his pocket. And the reason the BBC was also recently heard being said that they're going to start knocking on doors of 75-year-olds who are not paying their TV licenses, who in their eyes should be. None of them should be. None of them should be. Especially after you see what this bloody guy's doing. MPs blasted the increase as his salary goes from £450,000 to £525,000 a year. I don't say this enough. I should shout it from the rooftops. Defund the BBC. The Director General's profile on the BBC website has been discreetly updated. I bet it has. I didn't hear the BBC shouting this from the rooftops to show the rise. It comes despite widespread job losses at the BBC and Mr. Davie, who's only been in the role for a year, overseeing many millions of pounds worth of cuts. In comparison, the UK Prime Minister earns around £160,000 as a baseline. Of course, there's a whole ton of expenses when it comes to being a member of Parliament and Prime Minister, etc. But as a baseline salary of £160,000 a year. Tory MP Nigel Miles fumed, "The public's view could not be clearer. Salaries for top executives and stars are too high at the BBC." Again, I have to say this. The BBC is funded by the British public. So when the money comes in, it's not just a matter of we can spend it willy-nilly. Well, it should not be a matter, I should really say, of spending it willy-nilly. Because it's the BBC and because it's funded by the public, they should be as transparent as possible as to where the money's going and exactly how much of that money is going on people. Now, if the BBC want to say, well, we got to pay high salaries if we want to get these celebrities or these personalities to stay at the BBC, you can justify it for some, but justifying it for others, like a pay rise of £75,000 when you're making millions of pounds in cuts and cutting the license fee from 75-year-olds? No. No, you can't justify pay rises of that astronomical amount in the slightest then. The idea the person running the BBC earns nearly 4 times as much as the Prime Minister is baffling. It's impossible to justify. I don't give a rat's ass whether or not they compare the salary of this guy to the Prime Minister. That's utterly irrelevant. The Prime Minister is meant to be a public servant, just like MPs are meant to be public servant. Just because politicians abuse their monies as well, just because they've abused what they put into the expenses, and that only came to light, 10, 12 years or so ago, the extent that they have been abused is utterly irrelevant. What is relevant is this money is being funded by the British public, and especially if the person running the show wants to give themselves such an egregious pay rise, then they should make a bloody announcement. Hey, everybody, I'm giving myself a £75,000 pay rise. And justify it, considering where the money's come from. But you can't justify it, because you can't justify a pay rise of that astronomical amount at all. Mr. Mills said the pay rise has been funded by scrapping free TV licenses for older people who now have to pay the £157.50 annual cost. You need to go to your grandparents, parents, and you need to say to them, hey, you don't need this BBC malarkey. Let me just get rid of this for you so you don't need a TV license. And we'll set you up with a streaming service. We'll set you up with an Amazon or something. Something that hasn't got cuties on it. We'll set you up with YouTube. Look, you can type in something here and you can find exactly what you're looking for. Defund the BBC. But just to, I did a quick bit of maths earlier. This pay rise, by the way, would cover 460, a couple more, but around about 460 senior citizens free TV licenses. 460. That's what he would have cost. Well, that's what it would cover. But he added, there's no doubt that would have helped. When you're taking money from the over 75s for your service, you should look closely at where that goes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if you are still making cuts to personnel and cuts to funding. A senior government figure said the BBC must realise it's going to have to be more transparent about how it spends the licence fee in coming years. Never mind in coming years. Why hasn't this been an issue before then? Well, the reason why it's more prominent, of course, is because people have massively lost faith in the BBC, because the BBC, who is meant to serve the British public, is no longer doing that because it's gone to a far left ideology and it's serving those. It's brought in its, as I keep on reiterating, and I must reiterate, it's absolutely disgraceful, bigoted, sexist, and racist inclusion and diversity policy where you're literally ticking a box of a person's sexuality or color or gender so that you can pat yourself on the back and say, aren't we being so bloody progressive? Meanwhile, the quality of shows is going down because you're not necessarily hiring the best people for the job, just the right people according to the box that needs ticking. Sources close to Mr. Davey, this is the clown world part, point out that he took a pay cut at the BBC when he moved from chief executive at BBC Studios to become director general. So number one, you got two absolute laughable things here. He knew what he was doing. He knew the role that he was going into, and he knew how much it was going to give him a year. But no, he went from a job that was lower and yet paid more in the BBC, so he needs to compensate himself for that. Are you kidding? A BBC spokesman said Mr. Davies' salary was well below the market rate for this type of role, adding Carolyn McCall at ITV is paid £833,000 a year, and Alex Mann at Channel 4 earns £991,000 a year. Well, do you know what ITV and Channel 4 don't have that the BBC has? A license fee. They get their money through advertising and selling shows like the BBC as well. So they get their money privately, not publicly. And when you get your money privately, you do with it as you want, because you're not taking money out of the public's pocket. But the BBC is. And as the BBC love to say, due to the unique way that the BBC is funded, well, if you're funded in a unique manner, don't expect to have parity with private firms. This is an absolute fucking disgrace. Another disgrace at the BBC. And we might talk about another one later on, as they want to flaunt somebody, a cuties lover, who they defended for decades and allow them to get away with what they were doing for decades. Now they want to make a TV show about them. And being on the BBC is probably going to be to celebrate them. Oh, it's going to be very sympathetic. Oh, piss off. So once again, folks, hashtag defund the BBC. Another absolute joke from the British Broadcasting Corporation. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a fun thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.